Hi everyone, I'm Shaylin here with Reedsy. Today we're going to be running through some tips to help you actually write your book in 2023. If one of your goals this year is to write your book, maybe it's something you've tried in the past and haven't had success at, maybe you're new to writing. If this is the year you're finally going to write your book, the tips in these videos will help you get there. Tip number 1, set actionable goals. Writing a book is a huge task, and it's important when setting goals for your project that these are actionable goals that are within your control. Things like this year I'm going to get a publishing deal, or this year I'm going to get a literary agent, aren't necessarily actionable goals. There are steps you can take to try and reach those goals, but they're not necessarily actionable goals within your control. Even something like this year I'm going to write my book is a little too broad to be an actionable step that you can actually take. So break your goal up into actionable steps that feel much more approachable. So think about when it is you want to start writing the first draft. Maybe you even want to break that first draft into smaller chunks. For example, over the next 2 months, I'm going to write the first act of my book. It's very hard to conceptualize how you're going to start writing a whole book since that feels like such a big task, but setting a goal for when you're going to be done the first chapter feels a lot easier. Step number 2, start right away. It's really easy to set a big goal like writing a whole book, and then you realize that it's July and you haven't really started, but you think, I still have months to go, I'm fine. And then suddenly it's October and you haven't started, and then you think, well, I'll leave it till next year. If your goal is to write a book in 2023, try to start right away. Think about what you can begin right now in January of 2023. The later you leave actually starting such a big task, the more likely that you won't begin at all. So start right away in January. That will set you up for success for the rest of the writing process for the entire year and make it much more likely not only that you'll complete your goal, but that you'll actually start in the first place. Tip number 3, find a way to stay accountable. Find some way of keeping track of your goals, whether that's to someone else or just to yourself. Whether that's keeping a journal where you keep track of your writing goals and writing progress, or whether you find someone else who's also working on their first book and you guys are going to exchange work every 2 months. Even just writing down or keeping track of your progress can be a really huge motivator because it's just that reminder. When you get in the habit of, say, logging how much work you've done each day, when you don't do it, you really become aware of the fact that you didn't do anything that day. So just finding some way of keeping track of your goals, staying accountable to yourself, can make a really huge difference in your ability to actually see through the process of writing a book to the very end. Tip number 4, know why it is you want to do this. Writing a book is, like I said, a really big task, especially when you consider all of the drafts that go into it. You know, you're not just writing a first draft, which in itself can seem like a huge task, but also there's all of the revision and then all the work that goes into publishing a book. So you really want to know why you're doing this. What is your motivation? Why do you want to tell this story? When the writing process starts to get difficult, it's this sense of internal motivation and knowing why you're doing this and why this matters to you that you'll come back to. If you don't know that thing, if you're like, well, I don't actually know why I'm writing this book. Why did I want to do this? It might be easy to give up at some point once the writing starts to get difficult, because it will get difficult at some point. But if you know why you're doing this, you can always keep that knowledge to fuel you. Tip number 5, prepare for setbacks and know that that's okay. It's very common for writers who are writing their first novel to start really strong right out of the gate because they're excited and they're thinking, wow, this is easier than I thought it was going to be. And then a little ways into the book, it starts to get difficult, which is very natural. And then they kind of go, oh wait, writing a book is actually really hard, and then bail. This is a really common phenomenon. It happens to a ton of writers. Know that there will be setbacks. A novel is long, you know, if you're looking at 80,000 maybe more words. It's going to be difficult. There are going to be problems at some point. You're going to get stuck. You're going to lose motivation. It may get harder as you go. That's totally normal, and it doesn't mean that you're not a real writer or that this book can't be amazing. You just have to know that these setbacks are normal, brace yourself for them, and be ready to push through. Which leads to tip number 6. Your success will be defined by your ability to persevere. Your ability to write a book is not defined by your ability to write the easy parts, the parts that are just easy and fun, where it just comes naturally. Your ability to write a book and your success at accomplishing this task is going to be defined by your ability to power through the difficult parts. And these will happen in equal measure. Writing a book is a long task, and so it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster. There will be easy days, there will be difficult days, There'll be days where you have tons of motivation, and there will be days where you just don't want to do this at all. Coasting through the easy parts is great. I love getting to the easy part of a book or feeling like I've really hit a stride and I can just write the book effortlessly. That's great, but that's not what defines your ability to succeed as a writer or complete such a big a task as writing a book. That's going to come from your ability to power through the challenges, the setbacks, the parts where your book gets stuck. Your ability to commit to solving a problem or pushing through a period of low motivation. That's what will define your success. So know that going in, be ready for it to be challenging at some points. But the fact that writing a book is such a challenging task is what makes it worthwhile in the end. A lot of people, probably the majority of people, say they want to write a book at some point, but most people don't. And this is why. It's because it's not easy, but that's what makes it worth it in the end. And finally, be willing to adapt as you learn. The more you write, the more you will learn. So be willing to adapt. You may learn more about your writing process, you may learn more about writing craft, you may learn more just about what you want this book to be or what works for you. Be adaptable, especially if this is your first book. The plan you had going in may not even be relevant after a few months of writing, after you learn what methods work best for you and you learn more about how to actually write a book. So be willing to adapt. If you have an idea for a big change you want to make for your book, go with the flow. If you realize that whatever method of scheduling or goal tracking you've been using does not work for you, change it up. Being adaptable is a really, really key factor in a novelist's ability to actually complete a novel. Factors will change within your book, within your life, and so you need to be able to adapt in order to be able to continue writing your book through those periods of change. So those are a few tips to help you actually write your book in 2023. If it is your goal to write a novel this year, please drop a comment, tell me what your book is about, if it's your first book, and what your plan is going into the year. So thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos from us. We've got new writing, editing, and publishing tips every Tuesday and Friday. Until next time, bye.